Please welcome Rick Miranda, Interim President of Colorado State University.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Rick Miranda. I'm the interim president of Colorado State University, our land-grant university here in Colorado. We have offices in virtually every county in the state. Our agricultural experiment stations are scattered around in key locations. The Forest Service offices report up to the university. Our campus really is the state of Colorado, and we're very proud of that and take that very seriously. Our base, however, is in Fort Collins, about an hour north of here, and where we have about 28,000 students on campus, and a wonderful place to study, to learn, to work, and to play, actually. So it's wonderful to be back here in person, huh? After the emerging from the worst of the pandemic times. However, as we all know, it's not quite over, and there are a lot of clouds on the horizon with a war emerging in Europe and the pandemic effects and degradation of relationships in Asia. We have a lot to be apprehensive about, and we've talked about that a lot at this conference, about how to engender hope in all of us. And hope sometimes is a feeling and an emotion, but there's a practical definition of hope too. A practical definition might be that you have hope when you are investing in the future. And there is nothing, no sector of our society that's more involved in investing in the future than in education. Huh? And so we are embodying hope every day in everything we do. And so this conference is enabling everybody to reconnect with old colleagues, to meet new colleagues, and to share ideas on exactly how we're investing in our students and in their future and in the future of our society. So we're committed to that. I know you all are committed to that. And welcome to Colorado on behalf of Colorado State University and all of our colleagues here in the higher education ecosystem in Colorado. Thanks for coming. Enjoy the lunch. We'll get back to you in a little while after we start eating for the rest of the program. Thanks very much.
Please welcome Makola Abdullah, President of the Virginia State University and Chair of the APLU Council of Presidents.
I had everything up, and then I let it go right when I thought I was going to have to do this after lunch. How's everybody doing? Good, good. I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker for the day. Before I do that, I also want to make sure that we acknowledge, since I come from the Council of 1890 Presidents, I wanted to acknowledge all of the members of the 1890 community that are here today. I want to clap for you. Please clap for them because they're my friends. He said, I've got it, though. I got it, Jeff. I'm good. I'm ready. All right. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Dr. Sethuraman Panchanathan. Thank you, sir. I've been practicing. Dr. Sethuraman Panchanathan is the director of the National Science Foundation. He's a computer scientist and engineer, and is the 15th director of the U.S. National Science Foundation. NSF, as you all know, is an $8.8 billion independent federal agency and the only government agency charged with advancing all fields of science discovery, technological innovation, and STEM education. Dr. Panchanathan has a distinguished career in science, technology, engineering, and education that spans more than 3 decades. He served as the executive vice president of the Arizona State University Knowledge Enterprise, where he also founded the Center for Cognitive Ubiquitous Computing. Prior to becoming director of NSF, He served on the National Science Board for 6 years, and he has also served on and chaired numerous high-level research and innovation organizations. He is a fellow of the National Academy of Inventors, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and the Association for Computing Machinery, and other prestigious science and engineering organizations. His scientific contributions have advanced the areas of human-centered multimedia computing, haptic user interfaces, person-centered ubiquitous computing technologies for empowering individuals with a wide range of abilities. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Dr. Panchanathan.
Good afternoon to all of you. I said let me try before they turn the mic on to see if we need even the mic. I am thrilled to be here. This is like homecoming to me. I've probably been to 10 APLU annual meetings, and I had an opportunity of chairing the Council of Research of APLU, so did those meetings. So this feels like it's home. So I'm delighted to be with all of you. I want to share with you some of the highlights. I was told that you want to hear about chips and science, and they told me that until I do a good job, they won't serve me lunch. So I'm going to try my best. They said, get him out of there. Don't give him lunch until he does a reasonable job. So I'm going to try to do my best here. So the title that I chose to discuss with you today was something that I am deeply, deeply passionate about, which is that we are in a very important moment in our nation. I'm preaching to the choir here. You all know this already. You all know this already, but I'm still going to do it because this is an important thing that we all need to sort of digest and express in every possible forum that we are in. I often tell people, they ask me, how can we help? I said, very simple. Go to Thank God It's Friday parties. Talk to them about science and how it is exciting until they run away from you. So we all need to do a better job communicating the excitement of science and what science is making possible all across our nation. Having said that, we all know that still there is not opportunity that is being presented everywhere across our nation. There is a lot of talent and ideas that are being left behind. There is a lot of possibilities for innovation that are not being realized. So this is the moment that we are going to take charge, and we are going to change the trajectory and make sure that we're going to accelerate our progress to ensure that innovation can be anywhere and opportunities have to be everywhere. And so that's what we're going to do as a group working together. So in that context, NSF is a vehicle. I would argue that it is an important vehicle for getting that done at speed and scale. You all probably know the vision of NSF, the mission statement that was put together only 72 years ago by the great Vannevar Bush. Simply stated in these 3 lines, I'm not going to necessarily read it for you. You got it. There's a quiz at the end, though. Having said that, this mission statement has guided NSF over the last 7 decades or more. And through that, we are now seeing how we might express that mission of NSF in vision terms, in tactical terms, in operational terms, in every possible way in which we can get to realize that mission that is still, in my humble opinion, a work in progress at best. So when we talk about the mission of NSF, as we are launching into the future, there are these 3 important priorities of NSF. Working with the board, with the 2030 vision, as well with all the other component ideas. We have our co-chair of PCAST here, Dr. Maria Zuber. I'm so thrilled that she's here with us today. And we have got 2 board members, National Science Board members, Dr. Vic McCready, the vice chair, as well as Dr. Suresh Garamala, President Garamala, who is also the chair of the Committee on Strategy of the board. That we have a joint commitment as a nation that we will unleash this prosperity all across our nation by focusing on these 3 important pillars. The first pillar is, how do we ensure that we strengthen the established NSF? Because there is nothing wrong ever about NSF because we have, at the end of the day, realized 260 Nobel laureates were funded by NSF very early in their careers. If that is one testimony to what NSF makes possible, the only agency possibly anywhere in the world to be able to unleash that level of fundamental research excellence by investing early in the ideas and early in the people. And so what we need at this moment, therefore, is to take advantage of that particular strengthening the established NSF objective. But as I said, this moment requires us to strengthen at speed and scale. That's what this moment demands of us in the strengthening process. At the same time, as I said earlier, we cannot, must not, and should not leave talent behind as we are building this amazing future for our nation at this moment. And that term as the missing millions of talent that needs to be energized, inspired, motivated, realized is an important objective that we all have to work together as a single team. And in doing so, one of the things that NSF has done well, but needs to do a lot more of and be more intentional about it. Have the intensity and intentionality to ensure that we are translating the amazing ideas and fundamental discoveries so that they might see the light at the end of the day in terms of configuring solutions for society and humanity, as well as building technologies for national and economic security. How might we achieve that? And when I came to NSF 2 years ago, we said that we might want to take this moment and see how we might capitalize by launching a new directorate of technology, innovation, and partnerships called the TIP Directorate, hopefully tipping the balance in our favor. And that this TIP Directorate will make possible the leveraging of the unbelievable fundamental work that happens in all of the directorates of NSF, but also energizes those fundamental activities even more at speed and scale. That this TIP Directorate is the first new directorate in NSF in over 31 years. And that's nothing wrong, it's just that it is the time. This is the moment for us to be able to unleash that kind of an activity so that we might realize this goal of how we might have innovation anywhere and opportunities everywhere. Let's talk about NSF. We all understand NSF to be a place where if somebody had this fantastic discovery of a black hole in our own galaxy called Sagittarius A star, we all know, of course, NSF would have made that possible. Because that's what NSF is absolutely fantastic at. It is the agency that unleashes unbelievable fundamental basic research and discoveries all across the various disciplines of science and engineering. So we all know that. What I call the curiosity-driven, discovery-based exploratory research. But at the same time, NSF also makes possible, and this is something that NSF does not get enough credit for, which is that it also unleashes use-inspired, solutions-focused translations or innovations. And that these two are not a pipeline of activities. These two are highly synergistic, highly symbiotic. And therefore, when I came to NSF, I said, how do we communicate this in the best possible manner? And that we then talk about this concept, and I made it up, called the DNA of NSF. The DNA of NSF is made up of these two strands that are highly synergistic, highly symbiotic, and that innovations are made possible by explorations. We all know that. But so is more explorations and fundamental discoveries made possible by translations and innovations. And that this synergy is exceedingly important. And that's what NSF is absolutely best at, absolutely unique in terms of unleashing innovations as well as fundamental discoveries at the same time. And therefore, when you look at NSF, and as I was talking about this moment in time, what makes this moment unique? What makes this moment unique is the fact that we have this global competition, which is a challenge that is in front of us. But global competition is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because it is motivating us, inspiring us, driving us to work faster in terms of unleashing the ideas and talent that we are leaving behind. At the same time, this moment is also reminding us that these missing millions of talent are available for us to do so. It's not that we lack in that we have this availability that we are not taking full advantage of. And finally, I know a lot of people ask me, oh, you walk around, talk to a lot of people. Is science being supported by everyone? I can tell you with absolute certainty that science is bipartisan, and science is supported by both sides of the aisle, and the CHIPS and Science Act outcome is not an accidental thing. It is an effort that was put together by people from both sides of the aisle working together to unleash the prosperity that we are going to unleash for our nation at this important time. And therefore, when I come to CHIPS and Science Act, therefore, that CHIPS and Science Act is timely. It is made possible because of the fact that we have this unbelievable support. But even more importantly, that is what is going to unleash innovation and opportunities everywhere. And so when the president signed the CHIPS and Science Act on August 9th, it was clearly a celebratory moment. And it carries with it three important priorities, clearly. How do we ensure that we are in the vanguard of competition by unleashing fundamental scientific discoveries, as well as how might we take translational impacts at the same time at speed and scale? How might we launch a new directorate? How do we double NSF in a 5-year time frame? How do we make sure the talent everywhere is energized? That was the fundamental thesis, or in a summary form, what CHIPS and Science Act is all about. Before I get any further with the CHIPS and Science Act, I want to start anchoring this very clearly. CHIPS and Science Act is about unleashing unbelievable amount of discoveries of the future and discoverers of the future. So let's look at this black hole image that all of you probably have seen, the Sagittarius A star. And if you see what took for us to be able to bring this to a reality, you see the unbelievable investments in terms of the high-performance computing framework, like Frontera, for example. 1 million core hours of Frontera being used, and that multiple countries, over 80 different entities coming together from 30 different countries, researchers, over 300 researchers, all working together to quantify this and be able to present this unbelievable discovery. And so it's a teamwork. But as part of the team, what NSF does really, really well, and I want to take one example of that, is this amazing talent that gets unleashed by NSF. Let me walk you through the story. I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to tell you this story. I won't have time to tell all the stories. Here is my story of what NSF makes possible. This story is about Katie Bowman. Katie Bowman was a high school student who got touched by the NSF research done at Purdue University. And then subsequently, as an undergraduate student at University of Michigan, she was supported by NSF undergraduate research. Then she won the Graduate Research Fellowship of NSF, the prestigious fellowship, in 2011. That she then went on to MIT to do some amazing work. That then she also was part of 4 different NSF grants while she was working as a postdoc fellow. And then now she's a faculty member at Caltech and won the NSF Career Award. The other day I was speaking to her. She's an excellent exemplar. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of Katies. But what we need is tens of thousands and millions of Katies to be unleashed. That's what we need. So what NSF is doing right now, which is good, needs to be scaled, needs to be all across our nation, because these are people that can be inspired, that can result in unbelievable outcomes that they make possible because of the support of NSF. And the work happens. I always say, NSF is only an enabler and a catalyst. The work happens in all your institutions. You are where things are made happen. We are a catalyst. And therefore, I want to work with every one of you. I'm already working with many of you. I want to work with every one of you to make sure that you all feel that we have NSF configured in a way that supports this objective of unleashing talent everywhere, in community colleges, in minority-serving institutions, in Research 2 institutions, of course in Research 1 institutions. And of course, how might we get the K-12 pipeline of talent and pathways of talent inspired and energized? All of this needs to happen fast and at scale. Now talking about CHIPS and Science Act, because I don't want to be disappointed. He just gave an evangelist talk or something. So I thought, let me get a little bit concrete about CHIPS and Science Act. Again, related to NSF. There are 10 technology areas that are being talked about within the CHIPS and Science Act, but I want to make it very clear. This is including, but not limited to. These are technologies that we are fostering today because of NSF's research over the last several decades. And what will happen today's investment of unleashing these technologies. But remember, we don't even know what the other technologies are, because the future of the industries of the future, or the future of the technology of the future is being worked on right now in the labs that all of you have in your institutions. And so let's make very clear, we are making possible the future of the technologies of the future as much as we are enabling, accelerating, and making possible newer innovations in the technologies of today and the technologies of the future. So let's be very clear about that. And so when we talk about these technologies that are listed here, I'm not going to go through every one of them. They told me only 20 minutes, but I'm still going to grab a little bit more time. I'm trying to speak fast. I compressed my name. I'm trying to see how fast I can get this done. If I had anything to do with the introduction, I would have said, just say punches here, and that's enough. Because I need more time to talk. Who cares about the bio? So in the AI terms, therefore, if you look at it, NSF unleashed this unbelievable set of AI institutes. When I came to NSF, we said we have to have AI impact and inspiration everywhere in all states of our nation. So the first institutes of AI, the first 7 institutes of AI, in fact, 2 of them were made possible by full support by the US Department of Agriculture, NIFA. And NSF supported 5 of them. The first 7 included partnership with Department of Homeland Security and Department of Transportation. And I'm not going to go to the titles of all of them, but I will leave you with one example. AI Forums was one of those which the USDA partnership helped funded. At the University of Illinois, Robert, we visited this. And having the HBCU, Tuskegee University, as part of that. And 8 different institutions, all contributing to this desire of how do we inspire more ideas and talent. And I was amazed by the Earth Sense, the startup at University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And I had them talk to one of the visiting ministers the other day to see how NSF's investments make possible not only basic innovations, but also how some of the students then end up translating those into unbelievable discoveries of the future. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep going fast. And if you have other questions, you can always contact me. In the second round of the AI Institutes, I said 7 is not enough. If we are funding 5, we should get a lot more through partnerships. In the second round, I'm happy to say that we unleashed 11 more institutes. 5 funded by NSF, 6 through partnerships, including a consortium of companies, Microsoft, Google, Accenture, and Intel contributing to one full-scale center level of investment. And so these 11 plus 7, 18 institutes in the first 2 cycles span 40 states of our nation and the District of Columbia. And I'm confident as the 3rd cycle gets announced that most, if not all, of the states of the United States will be represented in one form or the other. Whether it is a K-12 inspiration, or whether it is a community college inspiration, research inspiration, whatever that might be. We have to be intentional about this. We can't let this to be a happenstance. Let me give you another example. In the high-performance computing area, which is also emphasized in the Chips and Science Bill, let me talk about the AMP Lab. This was part of a Science Expeditions Award. And that has made possible unbelievable innovations. The founders, 20 of them, co-founders, of this Databricks, which is a company which is going to come out, are all funded by NSF. Many, many corporate partnerships. Many corporate partnerships. And this Databricks, look at the impact of just one company, Databricks. There are thousands of these companies that have been made possible by NSF. And we need to make them into tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands all across the nation. And that's the goal. And that's the goal. And that's what we want. We need to unleash pretty fast. And so Databricks is already a $1 billion annual revenue. So an investment in 2012 in a program, Size Expeditions Computing, already reaping the benefits that you see here today. And talk about quantum information science. We have unleashed 2 different programs, at least in addition to fundamental research in quantum. The Quantum Challenge Institutes, 5 of them, and making sure that these institutes are not only in the places of R1 institutions, but touching all kinds of institutions and talent, therefore, that is being made possible. And then the quantum foundry concept. And we're talking about quantum foundries, we have 2 of them. One of them in University of California, Santa Barbara. The other is between the University of Montana and the University of Arkansas, called the Monarch Foundry. So that a 5th grader in rural Montana, if she wants to get inspired by quantum, that she should have access to resources. That's how we should think about how we inspire more K-12 generations of talent. As we think about the QISC, the Quantum Information Science and Engineering Awards, the QISC Awards, how might we do to expand this talent? Look at I'm not going to read the names of those 2 initiatives we just released, the 2 award tracks that we released. Look at the names of the institutions. And you can see for yourself whether NSF is committed to advancing talent everywhere and anywhere. So you look at any program, you will always find that is going to be the methodology, that is going to be the approach, that is going to be the way in which we're going to get things done, because that's the right thing to do and smart thing to do. And likewise, in the most recent disaster prevention and mitigation, the work of Bridges 2 as an investment in Pittsburgh, the University of Pittsburgh. Pat is here, I saw him earlier, working with Carnegie Mellon and others. Now, being able to predict this several days ahead of time in terms of what might be the impact of such a storm surge. These are the kinds of ways in which we have to show real impact. There are many, many examples of that. Take cybersecurity, for example. The Cyber Scholars for Service program that we have launched touches now 90 universities. Several thousands of students impacted by that. And this Cyber Scholarships for Service means that after that, they will go back and serve in the federal government or in state government or in other kinds of environments that we need more talent, cyber talent. And that's the kind of programs that essentially ensures that talent is available, because this talent has to grow at an exponential scale, because cyber touches everything. So when we're talking about doing all of this, we have to power innovation everywhere. And in order to power innovation everywhere, I said that we need to make sure that we launch the TIP, the Technology Innovation Partnerships Directorate, but not limited to the Directorate. TIP is a concept that permeates everything that happens at NSF. Yes, some things will happen through the Directorate. How do we accelerate public-private partnerships? Many, many examples. How do we make sure the investments from industry are being brought to the table so that NSF leverages the investments that it has even before the call goes out? Let me give you an example. Partnership for Advanced Wireless Research. And this is an unbelievable program, the Partnership for Advanced Wireless Research, where we have $100 million program, $50 million invested by 35 wireless companies with $50 million from NSF. How might we configure ourselves so that we might build the 6G and the next G futures? We're working together, a priori, through direct partnerships. The Intel partnerships, I think Christina Johnson, I saw her yesterday. President Johnson and I were there with President Biden in Ohio when we had the groundbreaking of the Intel plant. How do we work with Intel so they have the talent that they need in order for them to be able to take advantage of the $20 billion investments that they are making? How might we accelerate the public-private partnerships to get a lot more done? How might we develop more pathways for entrepreneurship? Not only the I-Core program, which is a signature program of NSF, being unleashed at a much larger scale, but how might we introduce newer programs like entrepreneurial fellowships so that any undergraduate, graduate, or PhD student can take these fellowships for a couple of years in terms of unleashing their entrepreneurial ambitions and aspirations in terms of companies of the future and the ventures of the future. So we are working on all fronts at the same time, because we cannot wait for one to lead to the other. It has to be an all-in approach in order to unleash the innovation and opportunities, as I said earlier. Lab-to-market platforms, many, many examples of lab-to-market platforms in terms of what SBIR and SCTR grants has made possible. SBIR and SCTR grants made possible. There's Deep River Technologies in California, which has a product called Lettuce Bot. How do we make sure that agriculture is more efficient, effective, right? Ideas like that, how do we advance and touch every aspect of what we need to do in terms of applications, the lab-to-market platforms. I have a wonderful story about SBIR, which I'll say at the end if I have time. Mark says, no, you don't have time. So on Regional Innovation Engines, a new program, I said if we have Bell Labs, which unleashed unbelievable talent and ideas, and you can see how Bell Labs has touched so many people, how can we, through public-private partnership, unleash Bell Lab-like entities everywhere across our nation around themes that are akin to the place? Themes that are akin to the place. And so the Regional Innovation Engine is a start in that front. And we sent the call out for Regional Innovation Engines, testifying to the fact that innovation and ideas are everywhere. We received 670 concept papers. Every state, as you can see, and every territory is represented. This is a demonstration of how we might do business differently, so that we might take ideas from everywhere and see how we can configure them in new ways so that we might produce the objective of innovation everywhere realized. And creating opportunities everywhere. How are we going to do this at scale? So when it came to NSF, one of the things that I had learned from my previous job is how, if you build good research enterprises for helping faculty and students to unleash ideas, help them to be successful in submitting their proposals, that they too might be successful. Therefore, how do we get community college ideas? How do we get R2 ideas? How do we get the minority serving institutions ideas which may not have the research? And I'm sure that one of the panels talked about it today. Alicia might have talked about that. But that you are able to get through the new program, granted program, which is an acronym for Growing Research Access through Nationally Transformative Equity and Diversity. I keep saying NSF is good at acronyms. And therefore you see that by providing all of the resources that you need through a virtual research office for those institutions that don't have the ability to invest right now, but still those ideas can be lifted up. That is how we ensure the participation of every institution. Every idea that merits lifting up and transcending the gold standard merit review has to be given the opportunity to be able to get there. So we cannot talk about it anymore. We have to get it done. And so that's, again, I'm very proud of the fact that we have already unleashed this program, and I'm sure it's going to cause a lot of interesting outcomes, and I'm eager to see how all of you participate through that, and some of the universities that are in your region participate through, or institutions in your region participate through that. So it takes a partnership, folks. It takes partnership. And that's why I'm here. And Peter said, can you come and talk? I said, I'm always ready to talk. But this audience is exceedingly important to me. You are our partners. You are the only way we are going to get this done. I need every one of you to work with us. That is the new NSF, folks. I hope this is acceptable to you and that you're excited as I am. I know that I didn't have my coffee or my lunch or breakfast. I'm still trying to shore up some energy. I might be lacking in some. But once I eat, I'll have more energy to talk to you individually. So thank you all so much for giving me this opportunity.